You know the drill by now. Here are all the changes I noticed between the 2007 graphic novel and the 1987 book version of Maryann Saves the Day. The graphic novel starts with Maryann daydreaming about going to school with her hair down. That's not in the book. The girl who answers the first phone call is changed from Claudia to Christy. The graphic novel removes the part where the girls point out every single time Claudia stole a job for herself. The graphic novel adds a panel where Stacy says Claudia is just as guilty as everyone else. The graphic novel leaves out a page of the fight. Specifically, it cuts out all the stuff in between Christy telling Maryann to shut up and Maryann's last paragraph. Christy doesn't tell Maryann to shut up in the graphic novel. Instead, she tells her to stop it. Maryann's dinner with Dad is shortened, and there's no scene of him checking up on her before bedtime. In the graphic novel, Maryann tries to flashlight talk to Christy, who shuts the blinds on her. In the book, Christy's blinds are shut the whole time. Dawn and Maryann don't discuss where they live. Dawn doesn't show off the two things she likes most about her room. Dawn's VCR has become a DVD player. Dawn and Maryann don't have a brief conversation about what their parents' names were when they were younger. Maryann says her mother grew up in Iowa. In the original book, it was Maryland. I bet they changed it to Iowa because that's where her maternal grandparents live in Mystery Number 5. While Maryann and Dawn watch a movie, Maryann narrates about her dead mother and single-parent father. In Chapter 5, a new client called the Preziosos call. In the book, it's the Johansons who call. Maryann gives her apology note directly to Claudia. In the book, she leaves the house, then returns to the house and gives the note to Mimi. About half of a page of Maryann and Claudia's phone call is removed. Christy and Maryann's discussion in Chapter 5 goes more smoothly, with less hesitation on Maryann's part and less backtalk on Christy's part. Chapter 6 starts with a club notebook entry which introduces the Preziosos. In the book, Chapter 6 starts with a club meeting where the Preziosos call for the first time. I kind of like the book version better. It gives us a chance to see what the Babysitters Club meetings are like when there's only one person there instead of 4. Stacy babysits Jenny the first time. In the book, Maryann does. In both versions, during the second sitting job, Maryann's annoyed that Jenny doesn't know her. I'm not sure why they kept that in the graphic novel. Jenny's meeting Maryann for the first time in that version. It makes perfect sense that Jenny doesn't know her. The book contains more foreshadowing with the Preziosos. They baby Jenny a lot, foreshadowing their sheer terror when Jenny almost dies. Mrs. P brags about their clothing, foreshadowing the problem of Jenny spilling paint on her dress. The graphic novel doesn't dwell on Maryann's Humpty Dumpty room decorations. In the book, Maryann complains about them when she talks to Mimi, and she specifically asks her dad if she can take Humpty Dumpty down. The graphic novel removes the scene where Watson calls the club. Maryann calls Christy to offer her the job, but Christy doesn't want to talk to Maryann. She forces her little brother to answer the phone. The graphic novel removes a half page towards the end of Chapter 8, where Christy and Maryann talk about how they're not talking. The club notebook entry at the start of Chapter 9 adds a sentence to the very end of the entry. The graphic novel swaps the first 2 pages of Chapter 9. Now Maryann walks to the Pikes before introducing them. The graphic novel skims over the second half of the sitting job at the Pikes. When Maryann gets in trouble for arriving home after curfew in the book, she uses this as an opportunity to argue she should be allowed to stay out later. In the graphic novel, she doesn't argue. The graphic novel removes the scene in Chapter 10, where Maryann writes an apology note to Christy, but never sends it. The graphic novel skips the scene where Dawn calls and makes plans with Maryann. Instead, it goes directly to Dawn being at Maryann's house. In the book, the Preziosos have a minor fight over the fact that Mr. Prezioso is wearing jeans. The two of them leave the house separately. None of that's in the graphic novel. The books in Maryann's Kid Kit are changed from real books to fictional books. Mr. P gives the girls $50 each. instead of $10 each. When Dawn and Maryann fight in the book, Dawn is a bit angrier and calls Maryann a liar. The graphic novel adds a scene of Maryann visiting her mother's grave. I like that scene, that was nice. The part where Dad talks about age-based double standards is removed. The graphic novel shows the text of Maryann's apology to Dawn. The graphic novel removes the part where Stacy gloats at the others and Christy calls her a brat. Maryann doesn't start a fight with Christy after Christy steps on her foot. Mimi doesn't appear in chapter 15 of the graphic novel. The girls apologize more in the book. Claudia apologizes for being forgetful, while Christy apologizes for being bossy. A few times it's mentioned that Maryann is knitting her dad a scarf for his birthday. The graphic novel shows her giving it to him, but the book doesn't. Stacy has a hamburger instead of pizza in the book. I don't know what she's eating in the graphic novel, but it ain't a hamburger. And that's it. Those are all the changes I noticed. Really, they removed a couple of scenes, and then they shortened some scenes. That's basically all the big changes that were done.